He's called the world's greatest athlete. Bryan Clay outdistanced a field of 40 decathletes at the 2008 Summer Games in Beijing, China, to win the Olympic gold. Even though at 5 feet 11, 185 pounds, he's the smallest decathlete in the history of the Olympic Games, Bryan won by one of the largest spreads, 240 points ahead of the nearest competitor. In his newly released autobiography, Redemption, Bryan shares about growing up in Hawaii, where the Olympics were the furthest thing from his mind.
I grew up thinking that I was going to work, a part-time job and surf in the mornings and surf in the evenings, and that was going to be my contribution to the world.
Bryan's world fell apart when his parents divorced. As he grew up, anger and resentment dominated his thoughts, and soon he was punching anything that stood in his way.
I was self-destructive. I was hurting other people. When I got angry, it turned into rage. And so that made things difficult for me growing up. So I would go and, break something, or I'd go and, put my head through the bedroom door.
Bryan's mother tried her best raising her sons. One day, she changed her tactics. She became a Christian.
The one thing that I can constantly remember her doing is she was always a prayer warrior.
She prayed especially for her two sons. In time, she remarried, and Bryan grew more angry. He was kicked out of school several times for beating up students, and even a teacher. The only thing that kept Bryan from completely destroying his life was his love for running.
Simply put, the track became my sanctuary. I can remember my high school coach telling me, when you enter these gates, I want you to just leave everything that's going on in life, because he was very close to me, almost like a second father. And so he knew the struggles that were going on in my life. He knew the relationship that I had with my mom and the relationship that I had with my stepdad, and the struggles that I was having in school and with girls, and the decisions that I was making and all those things. And so he said, I want you to leave that at the gate. When you come in, I want you just to run and to spend some time thinking about Bryan and be free of it all. And it really was something that I think without, I would not be where I am today.
In high school, Bryan excelled in track and field. He was recruited by several Division I schools, but decided on a smaller school, Azusa Pacific University in Southern California. There, coaches encouraged him to train for the decathlon because Bryan performed well in many events. But by Bryan's junior year, very little in his track career resembled the path of a future Olympian.
I was screwing things up. I was getting into trouble for partying and stuff in school, and I wasn't doing well in my classes. I wasn't doing well at track.
Bryan wasn't doing well with his then girlfriend and now wife Sarah either. She wanted a relationship with God where Bryan showed little interest. So she broke up with him, but still had hope he could change.
I vividly remember praying every day for him the rest of that summer, that God would just get a hold of him, that he would get a hold of his heart and just make him into the man that he wanted him to be.
I started looking at my life and really thinking about things, and I realized that, I just wasn't happy again. With any sort of success that I'd had, which really wasn't that much, I just wasn't happy.
So Bryan did what he always saw his mom do. He started reading the Bible and going to church. Bryan's relationship with God began to grow. Then at a track meet, an old girlfriend told him she had a sexually transmitted disease and he could have one too. Bryan was terrified and let God know how he felt.
How dare you, take all this away from me now? Sarah will never marry me. Am I going to be able to have kids? Am I going to, is this what I'm going to be known for? Is it, is this going to be my struggle for the rest of my life? How dare you take all this away? I'm doing everything that you wanted me to do. I've rededicated my life to you. I'm reading my Bible. I'm praying. I'm going to church. I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to be doing as a Christian. And I remember just laying on my floor, and I remember God just speaking to me and saying, no, Bryan, how dare you think that just because you've given your life to me now that, you don't have to face the consequences of decisions that you've made previously. And I just remember feeling just so kind of dumb and selfish. And that was the turning point for me. That was when I decided, and I think I actually gave my life wholeheartedly, not because of my parents or because of Sarah or because of anything else going on, but I gave my life to Christ, and I said, I'm gonna live differently from here on out.
Bryan was relieved to learn he had a clean bill of health. He and Sarah married and started a family. In 2004, Bryan made the Olympic team, went to Athens, and won the silver. Then in 2008, he clinched the gold, realizing the years of training and his mother's prayers.
I would never have imagined, really, if you ask my mom, and she was the one who probably believed it more than I did, I don't think any of us would ever have imagined that life would be the way it is now. I mean, it just blows my mind. I've been so blessed.
The gold medal has brought much more than his picture on a cereal box or even his numerous endorsements.
Now all of a sudden I have this platform to say, yes, look at God's faithfulness in my life. I didn't get here alone. This is where I started. This is how I got here. And I get to share that journey, that testimony with them in the hopes that they would see God somewhere in that along the way and realize that God really does exist. That's why I continue to try to go after a third Olympic medal. There's no guarantee that I'm going to get that, but I do it because I know that God has a purpose for my life and that my life is, I've been put here on earth to live life to the best of my ability and to share that testimony in the hopes that people will realize that God is real and see the faithfulness of God in my life.